welcome back to another episode of Keeping Ag Real. Today I have the spunky What You See, or I guess What You See tweeted is what you get. This is a strong ranching chick, Katie Reinert. Welcome, Katie. What's going on?
Oh, just weaning some calves.
So where are you from?
I am actually from the middle of Missouri.
Oh my goodness. I was going to say Arizona. You've lived everywhere, haven't you?
I've lived, yes, in several states.
So what got you to ranching?
Well, in Missouri, there's not a lot of big ranches, but we've always been involved. We were kind of a weekend crew. My dad and my brothers and me, on the weekends, we would team rope and go help local farms with stray cows and moving them and stuff like that, and just developed into a love of ranching and decided to move out and go work on the big ones.
So did you move right out to Wyoming?
So I went to college in Missouri at the University of Missouri,
Okay.
and after I graduated there, I moved to South Dakota to work for Select Sires.
Cool.
Yeah, and so, I can breed cows. And then I went and they helped me get a job on a big ranch out there in South Dakota, and then I went to Wyoming, and then I went down to Texas, and now I'm back in Wyoming.
I mean, I think Wyoming is probably one of the most underrated states there is. It's just absolutely beautiful. And you are in my favorite part, which is the northwestern corner there. And you said that you aren't too far. You're about an hour from the Tetons. Is that right?
About an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes or so. It's really not too far. We're about 75 miles from Jackson Hole, so we're right in the pretty part.
Oh, and Jackson Hole is just a cool, cool town.
It is. That's where we go get groceries.
I love the around the square. It's like, I don't know what you would call, the fences are almost just like racks of deer antlers and
the arches are elk antlers, and right now, since we're kind of in the winter season, they're all wrapped in Christmas lights, and it's really pretty when it snows up there.
Oh, how cool. So tell me, what is a typical day for you?
Oh, a typical day. Well, actually, most days I actually work for myself. So our ranch is actually several different locations. As we expand, we buy a different ranch, and basically we put another employee on it. So where my house sits on about 1,800 acres, and I am completely responsible for that. So in the summer, that means I am the one who fixes all the fences and stuff. I only have cows for about 3 months, and that's only in the winter, but I do have the majority of our cows. I get about 800 mama cows at my house, and I am solely responsible for all 800 cows for 3 months. And on days we have cow work and stuff like that, I get up, I go wrangle horses, and then I haul them about 45 minutes up country and go doctor calves or fix fence, whatever needs to be done. In the summer, we irrigate and we hay. Different times of the year means different things, but for the most part, I pretty much work for myself, and that's my favorite part.
So even when you're vaccinating and branding, or do you get help?
So vaccinating and branding, that is a day, the days everybody pitches in.
Okay.
Branding, usually there's like 45 people or so. We invite all our neighbors, friends from out of state, and it's just like a big family gathering. We have a big cookout. It's a lot of fun. We usually brand about 300 calves in 3 hours. We work pretty quickly.
Moly.
I think the longest time branding this spring, because we have about 1,200 calves to brand, and we split it into 3 branding. We were always done fairly early in the day by 1 o'clock, and we hardly ever got started actually branding before 9. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and days like price checking and weaning, we usually, we wean half the cows at a time. We preg half the cows at a time. So we do hire day help. We have a couple of guys. One of my brothers is one of the guys we hire. We got a couple guys that are our go-to day help, the guys that are most familiar with how we do things, and they've been around quite a bit, and we call them, and it's just like another employee showing up, and there's no question. They just jump in. You don't have to tell them what to do. It's pretty cool.
No fighting, sibling rivalry, or anything like that?
I was.
It's okay.
He did come back and help me calve out 450 cows this spring. He was my night help, and he helped a lot, but there were days where, yeah, there were some yelling matches. But for the most part, we actually get along really well. We're about as best friends as you can be for being brother and sister and trying to get along. You know, there's your squabbles and stuff, but...
Well, I don't know anyone that works cattle that isn't yelling at one another.
For the most part, we're pretty smooth and quiet. Our cow boss, he's a character, I will say that. My foul mouth, half of it comes from him. But, I mean, I grew up with it, but, you know, it definitely doesn't go away being around him. He is one heck of a hand, and he does most of the yelling, which is understandable. He is the cow boss. If you are in the wrong place, he will flat out tell you. Might call you a few names, and you just kind of have to let it roll off your back, because they'll be, what the F are you doing? And you're like, But for the most part, if you just keep your mouth shut and just do your job, like, it goes so much smoother. You just say your piece and just move on, and we get along. Cow boss is actually one of my brother's best friends, so he doesn't yell at me, but I watch him yell at other people all day long.
Well, that's sweet. So then what about haying? Because you do 9,000 acres of hay?
Yes, we do bale about 9,000 acres of hay.
That wasn't a typo.
No, that was not a typo.
Holy moly.
Yes, I don't know if you remember my tweets during hay season, but I was not a happy camper. It is a very stressful time, and I'm not the only one who feels that way. It is we have 2 balers, 2 mowers, and 2 rakes, and so there's 6 of us, and all of us are grouchy people for about 45 days straight, and you get frustrated pretty quickly. It's a lot of long days, 9,000 acres in 45 days. It's rough. We did my house about a week and a half, and that was with rain, and it was 1,600 bales, a little over.
And when you say bales, we're talking round bales.
Big round bales, the bigger round bales, yes.
Do you ever do the big square bales?
We do not, but we do buy them. We buy our alfalfa in big square bales, and we actually just load it on a wagon. We feed it by hand in the winter.
And so what you're baling is probably native prairie grass?
That'd be the best way to put it, yeah.
For someone who isn't familiar with ranching, why is it that you are doing 9,000 acres of hay?
We only get one cutting. We are very dry here. I know a lot of people around the country struggle with drought this summer, and that is a problem that we have every summer. That is our issue. We are in a drought zone. I mean, we have a lot of sagebrush, and sagebrush happens when there is no water. Right. The best way to kill sagebrush is actually just to water, and it'll kill it. It's weird. A part of my land I live on is sagebrush, and actually I have this big canal that comes out of the river, and then I have all these little scatter ditches that come off of it, and they water my hay meadow. But up in the top side of that bit, so I kind of live on a slope, the water gravitates downward. It runs back down into the river, basically, because I live alongside the river. The top side of that ditch where I don't have the scatter ditches is solid sagebrush.
Oh, my goodness.
I actually live in one of the very few locations in the area with what they call giant sagebrush. I actually have a sagebrush out in front of my house that is 12 foot tall. It doesn't look like it. Even from the road you drive by, it doesn't look at it. But you walk down in there, and you are in literally a forest of sagebrush, and it is so weird. I've never seen that before, but it's pretty cool.
So that's the equivalent of what we call super weeds in the Midwest, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then your cattle.
We run 12 hunter cow-calf pairs, and we also run 1,000 yearlings. We keep all our calves a full year, and then we sell them the next fall. And we sell them a year after everyone else would. What
you are doing is you are caring for the mamas and then the babies, and then you're keeping some of those babies, and you're not feeding them out, but you're caring for them for their first year.
Correctly. We only have grass-fed beef because, well, we don't have any crops around here. So
Sure.
it is all grass-fed, and our yearlings stay separate. We keep our heifers separate from our steers. Well, we try our best, and they go up country and they live up there all summer. And then when it comes time to ship them, we actually ship them from up there.
That's a great segue because upcountry, that means predators.
Absolutely. The main predator we struggle with is definitely wolves. They are a big problem, and actually the wolves that have been killed by, say, citizens of Wyoming and not the game and fish, the majority of them have actually been killed on our ranch. We have a definite wolf problem. The game and fish has actually come and shot them off of our property. This summer, I actually went up to grab some steers some yearling steers that had wandered into a group of pairs, and we went to get those out and just ride through the pairs and doctor babies. And when we were getting there at daylight, about 6 o'clock in the morning, we heard a wolf while we're getting horses out of the trailer, and we're like, well, that's not good. And we ride out, and that group of cows we actually went to look at and doctor that morning, there was a fresh wolf kill there. That kind of makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up because, they're not very far out. We have a lot of elk up there, so those aren't really predators, or antelope, but they all migrate right through what we call upcountry, our place up there. And there is a patch of trees on our private ground that we call the bear patch, and you do not go in there because that's all that lives in those trees is bears.
Yes. Wow. So yes. Do you have a lot of hunters that come to your state to hunt?
We do, and they are a main source of revenue around here. We have one absolutely wonderful elk hunting around here. A lot of my friends around here they guide or outfit, for elk hunters and stuff like that. Also, bear hunts. Bear hunts are a big deal around here. I actually went on one this spring. It's pretty cool what you put out to bait a bear, and it's pretty interesting.
It's insane.
My dog ate it because we took our dogs to because we were just riding in to put more bait out, and it's all almost human edible. And my dog was eating it. We put dog food. We had a 5-pound bag of gummy bears. We had a giant sized bag. It was called bear bait, and I told the guys, I said, that looks like pixie stick powder. And it smelled like it. And one of them tried it, and he goes, I swear that's what it is. It's nuts. And there's syrup and like blueberry syrup that you spray on the trees and bushes. Oh yeah, it's nuts. All our dogs were just fat because they couldn't keep them out of it while we're putting it out.
But you still attract the bears.
Oh yeah, we actually went up to this one who ate it, and the guys were walking up there, and they stopped for a second, and was like, something's behind the barrel. It was actually a big old cinnamon bear, and they hurried up, ran off before the bear never saw him, and they ran up there, and then he saw one of the dogs, and he went to take off, and they actually got him. Wasn't real big, but he was real pretty, light cinnamon color.
Ooh, beautiful, beautiful.
And of course, we have millions and millions of coyotes around here. They're terrible.
I want to back up, I guess, for a minute. So What is the size of, was it a heifer or was it a steer that you lost with the wolf?
It was one of our calves, so they were about 300 pounds or so. But we have, I know a couple of summers ago, because I actually worked for the same ranch a couple of years ago, we had a yearling problem. They killed about 5 or 6 yearlings.
And a yearling's like, what, 900 pounds?
About the time they were killed, they would have been about 700-800 pounds. They're pretty big.
That's a serious problem. Talking animal welfare as well as the cost, the profit.
Yeah, the really sad part is when you find the animal still alive. The yearlings, there was a few still alive, and it's heartbreaking because those are the animals you've just cared for the past year, fighting to save it, keep them alive, and here they are just eaten by wolves, and it's sad. It really is. Anytime there's a wolf kill or a bear kill, anything like that. For the most part, ranchers around here, you can tell the difference of if a coyote ate your calf or a wolf grabbed him or a bear. They all attack the animal differently. So for the most part, you can tell what got them. But regardless, you have to report it to the Game and Fish, and they have to come look at it. You can't touch them. And if you want to fully report it, you cannot touch them. They have to come out, assess them. And that's actually how we managed to get wolves off the, I guess what you would call is the endangered list, to where now you can shoot them. You don't need a tag or anything. If one walked into my yard, I could shoot him and no one would question it. Just like coyotes. They have gotten so bad. While they were under the list of no kill, we reported enough of them, and the surrounding ranchers reported enough of them, and we finally got them taken off the list. It was to the point where Game and Fish was coming in with planes and shooters and having to weed them out.
Wow.
It has gotten pretty bad. We haven't killed any wolves this year, but last Mother's Day, 2 wolves were just right outside of one of our ranches housing. You know, the houses and barns are out in the middle of the property, and they shot them not very far from the house, 2 of them on Mother's Day.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, they're creepy. They really are.
One of the issues that you also have out there, and a person from Twitter is listening, I think probably they saw your tweets about the fires. And at that particular time, and this is really why I wanted to talk with you, because at that particular time, my husband, my brother-in-law, and my son were hunting in Wyoming, in your state, but they were in the southeast. And actually, they were very close to one of the fires.
Oh, wow.
So real quick, I'll explain their wolf incident. Overnight, they had a wolf that came up to the grounds, and
oh, wow,
they had seen it, and at first they were like, okay, that's a coyote, and then it came closer, and no, sure enough, that was a wolf. And so that was really creepy. I'm like, do you think maybe you guys want to come home? You've got a fire that's ravaging everything. You've got a wolf coming up to your campsite. But they got through it and everything. The fires tend to start to begin when hunters come out to start hunting.
Absolutely. I do want to say this. It's not always out-of-state hunters. A lot of time it is. But there were a few here that were not just out-of-state hunters. They were in-state hunters, and one of them, we believe, was one of our neighbors, which is really, really sad.
Oh, and they were major.
Yeah, there was, I believe.
And one was just a cigarette butt that started it, I think you said.
Yes, it was. It was actually a local where I live right now. There are, on 3 sides, there are mountain ranges. We have the Wind River Mountain Range, we have the Gros Ventre, and we have the Wyoming Range. On the other side of the Wyoming Range, which really isn't that far, but to get there you have to drive, on a highway all the way around, which takes 2 hours. But they were up in that mountain range. I believe he was from the other side, and he was out cutting firewood. There were other locals in the area, and that's actually how they know for sure who it is. As it started, he was reported. The locals took some serious action. They stole his trailer, confiscated it, took it straight to the sheriff's office and everything. It was kind of a crazy story. But yeah, there was a guy out cutting firewood, and he threw his cigarette butt out on the ground. And that one ended up, it was over 4,000 acres. It was the second biggest fire just from a cigarette.
So that was 55 homes that were lost too, right? Thereabouts.
That fire actually did not lose any homes. That one stayed in the forest, and they managed to keep it out. The biggest one was, 70,000 acres, and that one took 55 homes.
So sad.
It was really sad.
So is your state pretty good? I know, I have friends in Oregon and Washington, and you hear a lot of stories about how they're unable to do controlled burns, and most of it is because of the general public's perception of burning.
Absolutely. They think it is harming the forest and the animals, and they cannot recognize that a burn is part of the natural process for regrowth in the forest, and it is very important to either log it or burn it, parts of it,
That management and being able to manage it does prevent future fires.
Absolutely.
And without
Absolutely.
having that tool, that's really causing issue not only, in your state, but California.
Oh yeah, many states around.
Oregon, Washington.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what BLM is, Bureau of Land Management?
BLM, it is a government-funded land. It is not forest ground. Forest ground is completely separate. BLM is, you run cows on it, which you can run cows on forest ground. People do have permits for that. The BLM, you can hunt on it. One of the greatest things I think about Wyoming, because without being a landowner, with the access of the BLM land, you can do practically anything you want. You need to go sight in a gun. There are millions of acres of BLM around. We do run some of our cows on BLM in the summer. We do have a permit for about 30 days. Some people run it around almost year round. BLM, you can hunt on it. You can go ride on it. You can go get lost on it. You can do whatever you want. And it's just... Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's literally, south of here, there is no fence for 1 million acres. It's huge. There's not one fence. And there's people's cows are out there.
And that's so hard to imagine.
It's wild. And down there on that BLM that is so big, we do have actual wild horses down there. Actually found the other day, headed to go grocery shopping.
Interesting and beautiful and crazy all at the same time.
Yes, it's wild. It is wild.
So, yeah, we farm, but we're also huge hunters.
Yes.
What is a way that we can try to bring the hunting community and the agriculture community a better understanding of what each, and I hate to say sides, but what each side is trying to achieve and maybe come to a compromise?
It would help so, I don't even really know how to say it, if people would just treat the land as their own. That's all we're asking, treat it as your own. Be respectful. If you call and say, hey, do you mind if I hunt here? It's time. If we know no one else is there and we don't have cows up there, yes. I mean, neighbors call me all the time. Hey, there's coyotes out on your land. Are you home? I want to go shoot. Oh, shoot, go ahead.
Right.
All means. But it's all about having respect. And what drives me nuts the most is we have all this forest ground, all this BLM ground. It's the majority of our state. There are cities bigger that has a higher population than the entire population of Wyoming.
Right.
We only have 500,000 people in the entire state living here. And so that leaves lots and lots of public ground. And then we have, I think we run about 25,000 acres of private ground. And we have padlocks on it because, you have all this public ground. You don't need to come onto ours. Most of the time it's actually locked because we don't want someone to leave the gate open. Because if you have a wire gate, a lot of times it gets left open. People forget to close it. They don't treat it as their own.
And then you've got cattle that get out.
And, and if that gate, which we do have the gate that is on, because we actually have forest ground that comes right up to our upcountry place where that fire was and our wolves and bears are and stuff. We have a gate there, and it was a wire gate. And this summer we actually put in a pipe fence and a metal gate because people were actually running it over to go through it.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah. So we actually put in a metal gate and everything, and we put a padlock on it. We ended up doing one of those letter combination locks because it was just easier. So if a neighbor needed to get in there, he could. He didn't have to come get a key. No one had to go let him in, nothing. It was just call and we'll give you the code. And a lot of people do that around here, and then just every couple of months you go put a new lock on it. And the code doesn't get out there, and you can kind of control who comes in and comes out. What's frustrating is that gate is next to all this public ground. And it didn't just happen to us. We found out later that it actually happened to our neighbors as well. Someone came and super glued all our locks.
What?
Yes, they did. All on this brand new lock, brand new gate, everything. And they didn't just super glue where, it latches. They super glued the numbers. They did it to all our neighbors too.
Why?
We cannot figure out who it was. We don't know why they would do that. So we were going up to cut firewood. We found it. We can't get in the gate. It's super glued. The guys literally took out a chainsaw and had to cut it off. It was ridiculous. And we had to put a new one on it. We called our neighbors. I was like, hey, did you have hunters coming up? And they picked their own gate and they got mad. We're trying to figure out who would do it, why they would do it. And that's the worst part is we can't figure out why anyone would do that. They said, nope, actually, that same thing happened to our locks. We had to cut them off. So disrespectful. And I hate to rag on hunters because every one of us that works on the ranch are big hunters. The guys take off all the time to go elk hunting or, wolf hunting, whatever. Everybody is big hunters around here. And we want the hunters, it's a huge source of revenue, but it's just so sad when they do things like that. It's like, come on, guys. All this public ground, and if you would just make a phone call, we'd give you the code. Oh, it drives me nuts. Actually, we have a shed hunting season. It starts the 1st of May, and people get obnoxious about that. It's just as bad as hunting. I mean, people go nuts over shed hunting. And there's actually this guy who puts a wall tent right directly in front of my house on the other side of the road, and I can't do anything about it. I can't call anybody, and there are people who go out there and they're not supposed to be, and I do call those people in, and they want you to call them in. So the wall tent, yeah, I can't do anything about it, and then like bird seasons and stuff like that, people will block my driveway to hunt birds in the giant sagebrush right outside my gate, and I can't do anything about it. I just have to ask them politely to move so I can get to my house.
That is so disrespectful. On the flip side of that, so when Jeff and my brother-in-law and son were out there, there was actually a rancher that came and approached them and said, hey, are you supposed to be here? This is my neighbor's ground. And they felt horrible. And so then everybody started getting maps out, and come to find out it was BLM. Do you think that there's issues with people not knowing where their lines are?
There is, and that's why also on all our gates there are big no trespassing signs. We do try to make it known that this is private ground. We really do, because that is a problem. And yes, everybody, the people that own land around here, they are extremely protective. It's anybody. Like if someone just pulls in my house and it's late at night, my neighbor calls me and asks me if I'm okay, if that person was expected to be here. It is really nice, the community around here. You see someone that doesn't look quite right, you call that neighbor up and be like, hey, someone's out there. Do you know about that? Our ranch personally gets phone calls all the time about our neighbors saying, hey, someone's out here and I've never seen them before. So then basically all the employees get a phone call. Hey, did you tell anybody they could go out there? And if all of us answer no, the cops get called and they get run off the land.
I mean, that's really, really awesome that you come together as a community and you know that people have your back. But those things shouldn't be happening. It's
actually, especially the shed hunters that leave gates open and go on the wrong side of the fence. Our game and fish actually are kind of sneaky because they know what they're after. And so around the gates and around where, we actually have a gate specifically that the shed hunters leave open a lot. So our game and fish are kind of working with us, and they actually have microchipped antlers that they put on both sides of the fence, mostly on our side, and they got some that aren't, and they actually look extremely real. And they have to tell all the employees where they put them, so we don't pick them up.
Right.
And so if they get picked up, they'll track them and they'll write them a ticket.
That is really cool. It's good to know that somebody's got your back.
Yeah, it is really nice. There's so much public land compared to what private land there is. And most of these places have been around for years and years and years. And people are so protective of it because it's all we got left. You can't buy BLM ground.
Right. Well, let's move on to something that you are doing that is just super cool. You are so talented.
Oh, thank you.
If people go out on your Instagram account, they can see the leather belts that you are creating, and it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I actually taught myself through YouTube and books, and it was actually something I picked up.
Wow.
So where I lived in South Dakota was fairly boring. I loved my job. I really did. I had a very cool job. Again, I lived in the middle of nowhere. I lived in a town of 200 people, and I had to drive at least 45 minutes to go get groceries, so slightly boring.
Oh, yeah, I can believe it.
I kind of needed a hobby, especially during the winter. It got kind of slow and cold. Something I decided to do. I've always been fairly decent at drawing, thanks to my mother. So I decided that would be a little different. So I taught myself how to do that, and I've slowly gotten more tools and teach myself as I go pretty much. But one thing I really learned how to do was make belts. Pretty much all the designs are hand drawn except for the pattern belts like the basket weave, but all the flowers are hand drawn and non-repeated.
And it's just beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
How long does it take to do a belt typically?
It depends how busy I am with work or how tired I am at night, because there's something I do when I have free time. Sometimes they take a couple months. Sometimes they only take a week. Depends on the detail. If it is just a basket weave, I actually made one the other day. It takes me about an hour and a half to stamp it out.
Oh, okay.
It depends on how much detail work. Sometimes it takes me a couple hours. I do put a lot of work into it. If you sat down and did the whole thing at once, you can do them in a day or a couple of days with drying and stuff.
I'll put some links into the show notes for the episode so people can go out to Instagram and look. And so if they want to purchase something, how is the best way for them to do that?
So right now, it's just if someone just sends me a message and tells me what they want, right now I have about 2 to 3 month wait. Yeah, just send me a message and I take PayPal or check in the mail. So.
And are you doing more than just belts?
I am. I actually have done a few spur straps and stuff. I'm actually waiting on a shipment right now. I got lost in Utah of new buckles for head stalls and things like that. I guess you would call it a contract. We have a local Western store that has been around for 3 generations in town. It's actually very cool, and they actually put in local handmade gifts in the cowboy shop. They approached me and asked if I would make belts for the store.
How cool.
I got some belts made right now. I'm waiting on my shipment so I can finish up some bracelets and dog collars, some spur straps. I'm going to make some head stalls for them.
Purses?
Oh my gosh, funny story. I actually would really love to make purses. I think that is a really great market to get into, is custom purse making, especially on the western side. And there's so many options, and sizes and things like that. I think it'd be really cool. And I actually have no idea how to make a purse, and I actually attempted it a couple summers ago, and I don't think I've trust so much at one item. It was awful. I hated it, and it was hideous. I failed so bad. It's so funny. My brother still brings it up. It's so funny. Oh, no, he tells people that I failed big time. They're like, oh, I bet she did it. I'm like, no, this time he's not joking. It was awful looking. But that is something that I do want to pick up in the future, is purse making. I think that would be very cool to do. The cowboy shop asked me if actually I would make some smaller purses, not too spinny, something they could move fairly quick to the cowboy shop. And I was like, you should find someone else to do that section.
For now, at least.
For now. I was like, I haven't quite managed that part yet. So we'll get there one day.
Good. That's a good attitude. That's awesome. So my advice would be go straight to the Instagram account. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go straight to that Instagram account and look at the beautiful stuff that she has made, and then send her a message. It's just really incredible work. And I love how you have the finished belts, the way that you display them on the antlers. That is really cool.
Thank you. That is my coffee table. Those are sheds that I found this summer cowboying.
Man, I want to come out there, and I want to help with branding, and I want to go shed hunting. My brother would be so jealous.
Oh, May is the time of year to do that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is. If you've never been to Wyoming, actually, if you have been to Wyoming, come out here. It is one heck of an experience. You'll never forget it.
It is. It is beautiful. One of my favorite states by far. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to visit with us and let everyone kind of get to know you a little bit better.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm really glad you called me about this. It was fun.
Oh, good. All right. Well, if you want more information about Keeping Ag Real, you can go to the website, www.keepingagreal.com. And as always, keep it real.